If you were to say, for instance, so I'm an Orthodox Christian, if you were to say that, Andrew, it causes great harm for you to not use a person's gendered pronouns. It causes them harm, causes them some degree of suffering and some degree of discomfort. I could equally counter with, but as an Orthodox Christian, it causes me a great degree of discomfort to lie to them, because from my worldview, that's exactly what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. Now, in this case, you have to put yourself in my shoes and empathize with me while I empathize with you. Who do we side with here?
If you're an Orthodox Christian, isn't there something that says that you should love others equally and not judge?
Yeah.
Isn't that the same harm you're doing to yourself?
No, first of all, of course, you can righteously judge. This is a biblical principle. And without righteous judgment, you could never actually do a condemnation of sin ever. So you have to have righteous judgment. But not only that, the idea here is, even if this was the case, that you're supposed to show love, and you are, it's not unloving to tell the truth. And from the prism of the Christian, they believe they're telling the truth, and that you're lying and demanding they lie. That's their lived experience. That's their worldview.
Okay,
so
if that's their lived worldview, then I would say for that person to exit the scenario. That's when you walk away. You don't cause any kind of hoopla, and you just go. Because you can't change everyone's opinion. You can't change everyone's...
Hang on, see what I mean? Why don't they go?
That's what I'm referring to.
Yeah, they go. So in the case of you're in a convenience store or something like this.
Okay, well, that's pushing it.
Somebody says, it's ma'am, and you say, no, it's sir. Why are they wrong?
In their own opinion, they're not wrong, and I get what you're getting at.
Right,
I get what you're getting at, but telling them to leave, now you're opening a whole other book.
Who do we side with?
I don't know. I feel like this is such a controversial thing you're trying to get into. That, like, as a Christian, how is it more important to you to not lie than to be a kind human and not harm others?
Well, you're asking for a conflict in principle. Why can't
That's what I'm saying.
Both? Why can't I say that I think it's the greatest kindness not to lie to individuals, and so I don't? And this upholds the Christian ethics and principles. But from your worldview, you say, but Andrew, this does harm to us because...
So, can I pause you?
Almost done. Because it makes us feel bad, makes us feel terrible, this type of thing. It's like, that's fair, but I still need to know, how do we decide these threshold breakers exactly?
Okay, I have genuinely a question I would love to hear your answer on. Say your religion again?
Can you answer mine and then I'll answer yours?
That's fine, but
Okay, answer mine and then I'll answer yours. That's fair.
Who should I side with? I don't have an answer. I think each person is on their own side, and if I were to walk in personally, myself in that scenario, I would diffuse the situation, because neither one is going to change either person's mind. You are entitled to your own opinion.
How do you diffuse it?
Go up and actually be a kind human being and say, hey, I totally get that you guys have differences here, but let's just walk away.
Yeah,
there is literally no point in continuing having confrontation like that other than to cause a scene.
So, your expectation is that these people are still going to get along well, even though one demands that the other, from their worldview, lies to them.
I never said you had to get along.
The other one demands from their worldview that what you need to tell me is what I consider the truth to be.
I never said that you had to get along. Hold on, wait. You wanna cut me off when you're talking? Then if I have space to answer your question, I never said that they had to get along. I said diffuse the situation and separate, because I don't think that every opinion has to mesh with every opinion. You walk away and you let it be.
So then the ultimate logical entailment here is the idea that groups should segregate from each other.
If you choose to not be a part of a group, that's your choice.
Yeah, I know, but the ultimate entailment of your logic here is that groups should actually segregate away from each other, because you say there's no answer to these questions.
No, I think that people who have conflict,
if they come into contact.
No, that's not true. Some people are assholes and some people aren't. Some people can turn a blind eye and say, have a nice day, and just not use a gender. You could just not use a gender. Who's the asshole in this situation? You could just not use a gender. Who's the asshole in this situation? Tell me. Just not use a gender.
Who's the asshole in this situation?
You know who the asshole is in this situation.
No, I don't. I want you to tell me. Who's the asshole in this situation?
The asshole in the situation is the one who's provoking the person who's literally done nothing wrong.
Well, which one is that?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you don't know, right? This is the whole problem with intersectionality. This is the whole problem with the foolishness of this ideology. The entailment of
what ideology?
is always that it's going to lead to, we can't actually, if we're going to only use empathy as a metric, or even empathy plus brute facts, and you say, well, give me a specific example, Andrew, of where we're going to end up coming into conflict. Well, now I've just given you an example of two different groups who have two different ideologies.
Great, okay. I will answer your question. In that scenario, the one who continues to provoke is the asshole, even if that is the person who has the different gender and you do not agree with them. If they're coming up to you and they're being a complete piece of shit and causing a scene, then I would tell you that that person is the asshole.
Yeah, but you got a problem with that too, which is that what is considered a provocation cannot be what is true. So if that is the case, both think they're telling the truth. The one says, I'm not provoking you.
I'm not referring to what I think the truth is.
Hang on. I just let you answer. Let me answer. So if the idea here is, the one says to him, listen, I'm not provoking. I'm just demanding basic human respect that they don't misgender me. The other one says, I'm not provoking. I'm just demanding that you don't say that I must lie because you're provoking, right? In this particular case, you consider neither of those or both of them to be provocations.
In this scenario, if they're having a calm conversation, they're having a debate about who's right and who's wrong, and they can finally... Isn't that what you just described? One's saying I'm right and the other one's saying I'm right?
Let's say
or they're having a pissing fight, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, let's say you're just in a grocery store. And let's say the Orthodox Christian in this case looks over and he says something like this. Hello, sir. You want me to grab that for you? The person they're talking to looks over and says, actually, I'm a woman. Okay? So I'd appreciate if you address me as ma'am. Okay? The Orthodox Christian says, well, I'm not going to do that because I don't believe that you are this thing that you're claiming you are, not from my worldview. And the other one says, but I am from my worldview. Your reconciliation for this situation is separation. If that is the case, then the advocation would ultimately be segregation.
That's a stretch, but my opinion is that...
How is it a stretch?
Okay. Do I get to answer? Like with a full sentence?
Go ahead.
Before you... Okay, great. What you're implying is that someone needs to win in this scenario, right? Like someone needs to come out on top or we need to segregate them. Yes?
Well, I don't know how you reconcile it. If one feels like they don't have basic human respect or dignity from the one group, and the other group feels like they're not getting the basic respect and dignity due to their group because they're being told they must lie. How exactly do you expect to reconcile that?
I don't think all things need reconciliation, especially in a grocery store when you're just minding your business. It is not segregation when you have free speech and you can just say what you want to say.
Well, what else would it be? How else would they get on then?
They move on with their lives and they forget about it.
Yeah, okay, but if you're in various communities, you have various communities where you have various people in them. Mm-hmm. The idea here is that you're saying neither side is wrong. Neither side is wrong. Mm-hmm. Both sides are right.
Because they're
both right.
Mm-hmm.
So they can't necessarily, if they're both right, then both of them have a leg to stand on in order to make their case that they deserve to be able to say what is true from their different perspective. That's necessarily going to lead to conflict, and you just said the whole point here is
I just don't think it should always lead to conflict. I think that there's just some things that we have differences about, and instead of creating conflict, you can just have differences.
Yeah, but what if those...
in this scenario, you are the issue. You are persisting on creating conflict when in my scenario, in the same example you're giving me, mm-hmm. if I were the person, if I did identify as something I was not born as, mm-hmm. I would politely just say, thank you for your help, but I actually have to go. And now I've diffused the situation. You asked me how I would diffuse it. Boom, done.
Yeah, sure, but have you had your basic human dignity in some way violated?
If it were me personally, no, because this human being is never going to see me again if I have anything to do with it.
Perhaps not you, but you would say that most people who are in that situation would at least feel that way, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, if they do, then why would they want to subject themselves to that all the time from this group? They clearly wouldn't. They would try to what? Probably, I don't know, separate themselves from it, yeah?
I'm impressed with the way that you can work around words. However, I still don't believe that it's segregation. I believe that there are differences in all humans, and you want to talk about like the basis of America, we can get real deep into that shit.
All you're doing is changing the argument instead of answering to it.
I did answer. Neither one is wrong, and everyone is entitled to their own opinion, and there is no conflict unless you create it.
Yeah, well, while I appreciate the compliment of me being such a fine wordsmith, I feel like I'm dumbing this down quite a bit. Make sure that we can get the actual answer.
I gave you the answer.
If the idea here is like, but I don't believe that. But when you say, I don't believe that, but at the same time, you feel like almost everybody in that group would feel like they had their basic kind of human dignity violated in some way. So the order of the day, in order to not create conflict, would be to separate themselves from those people.
No.
I don't know. Well, then how exactly would you deal with it then? Without having your human dignity violated? I don't actually get that.
Do you genuinely think that humans as a whole can go throughout life without becoming offended in some way or having their basic dignity violated? Because you're referring to Christianity and their belief system, so you're having your belief system violated. So your dignity, in other words, is you've strung them together.
Yeah, and that necessarily creates conflict. That dignity is
because
violated.
You've created conflict out of it. That's what I'm saying. I just don't think that the two have to coincide.
Conflict out of it. It's that you can't always walk away.
You can, actually.
When your dignity is being violated, right?
Maybe you are incapable of walking away whenever your dignity is violated, but when mine is, because it happens all the time. It comes with the chair, comes with the hair, comes with people calling me it, as they did at the beginning of the show. I take grace and I say have a very nice day. No, I don't. Me personally.
Well, wait, what are you going to do? Hang on. What's your answer? You're going to do what?
I would diffuse that part of the conversation. Now, if you're talking about actually separating, I don't. I spoke in my town.
By walking away, right?
Oh, okay. Are you ready?
Yeah. How would you diffuse it? You would walk away. Yeah.
From that specific situation with that specific conversation and that specific person, yes. From that person as a whole, no.
So then why?
I would also be open to having like wholesome conversations about religion.
If you yourself would want to separate yourself from that situation in order to avoid conflict, it stands to reason that most people in your situation would want to do the same thing. If this is a case that they want to separate themselves, which has been my point the entire time, right? Why in the future would they want to engage with the same person who's not going to back off on their laurels of, no, I won't lie to you?
To create change, to create opinionated change, because I think that, you know, you're running on the basis that like it is wrong for you to lie. It is wrong for someone to ask you to lie, right?
Right.
Okay. So if you and I were sitting in a room and having a conversation one-on-one as human beings speaking about the human existence, I think that I would want to open up conversation of like why you feel that way and why you feel the need to present your opinion as the dominant and correct opinion instead of being a kind human person. Yeah, I think that creating space between people is only going to create conflict.
But
creating distance. You done? Okay, great. So can I finish? Because you did that to me.
Is it going to take you forever to finish?
It took you forever to finish.
It didn't take me very long. If you want to recap on the conversation, you've had far more speaking time than me. I've been very courteous to you.
Okay, for sure. Yeah. I just think that you enjoy.
Calm down, and we can finish the conversation. Go ahead.
Oh dear Lord, I think that you are incapable of not using this scenario without conflict.
No, I'm saying that the entailment of the scenario itself is conflict.
How?
Well, because if you have two ideologies where both believe that their dignity is being violated, just in the form of communicating with each other, just in the form of communication itself, then the only answer to not create conflict in the form of communication would be to not communicate. If you can give me a way to reconcile that, I'm all ears.
Have more open communication, have a more open mind. But other than that, literally what you're saying is the assumption. You're assuming that these two ideologies create conflict because they feel like their dignity is being compromised. But that is a very specific scenario. I don't feel like my dignity is being compromised.
A specific scenario, and I gave it to you.
That's fine. I get that.
So that you can understand the distinctions and why it is that necessarily you're going to have two ideologies consistently which come together, which cannot reconcile worldviews together. that ultimately your answer to this is indeed separation, even from yourself. Your idea of diffusing such scenarios would be separation.
Immediate diffuse? Immediate.
I need you guys to make one final point on this. Go ahead.
I think
I'll just let her point stand. Go ahead.
How kind. I think that if you're
I'm being very courteous.
If you're trying to get to the point of would I leave initially? Yes. Overall, no. I would not separate myself from the person permanently. In other words, segregate myself from this person just because they have different views than me. No.
Except immediately you would. But
to diffuse the... Okay.
That's like the first response is the thing that you would do, but okay.